I have an identical twin sister. We'll call her Stacy for the sake of the story. Our mother unfortunately passed in child labor, and we were raised by our father. Stacy has been married to Jeff for 8 years, and I have been in a relationship with Mike for 3 years now. One thing I've always known about my sister is that she wanted to be a mom. Even when we were children, she was always thinking about wedding ideas, nursery themes, baby names, etc. I was always more focused on books and having fun. I am now a flight attendant, and I'm also attempting to become a published author. My sister has not worked, ever honestly. When we graduated high school, we went straight to college. She met her boyfriend in college, and once she graduated, became a stay-at-home girlfriend until she became his wife. I have known for a while that my sister has been attempting to become pregnant. Unsuccessfully, she has experienced a single miscarriage and has been unable to become pregnant again after thousands and thousands of dollars being spent on IVF and pretty much anything they could do because she wanted to experience pregnancy. After 5 years of no success, they have started to discuss other options. My sister isn't interested in adoption and is very adamant on having a child that has both of their DNA, her words, not mine. About 3 weeks ago, she came to my house and we were hanging out as we usually do, just chatting and watching Modern Family. She told me she had a serious question and needed to ask me while she still had her nerves. It scared me, but she asked if I could be her surrogate. I was frozen for a second and asked what she meant. She told me that I know what a surrogate was. She needed me to be her surrogate. I expressed that she knew that I wasn't interested in having children. This could definitely be due to how we came into the world, but I'll be honest and say I have never found the thought of having children appealing in any way. I told her that I would have zero issue with donating my eggs to her. However many she needed, she could have them all, but I could not carry her child. Upon hearing that, she became so angry. Her face was so red, and she was just yelling about how it's obvious how jealous and hateful I am because this is a small task. I didn't want to bring it to her attention, but she has always spoken about having more than 4 kids. Would the expectation be for me to do this every time? I don't know. I'm starting to feel so bad. She ended up telling me that if I couldn't do this one thing for her, how could I ever call myself her sister? She broke a picture of us I have sitting on my mantle and stormed out. Since then, she's only texted me pictures of her diaries from when we were kids and all of their vision boards saying that I'm stopping her from creating a family for no reason and to think about the bigger picture. My boyfriend refuses to give me advice, saying that it's my sister and he doesn't feel comfortable attempting to sway me in either direction because it's such a touchy subject. Honestly, this is the longest I've ever gone without communicating with my sister, and I am seriously on the verge of giving in. Now for a few important comments. One commenter mentioned that most doctors would refuse to allow someone to be a surrogate if they haven't previously had children, saying, she'll be hard-pressed to find one that would. Not to mention, she's asking her sister to sacrifice her body and potentially her life to fulfill her dream. That's not fair at all. If she can afford IVF, she can afford a surrogate. Another commenter stated, this goes beyond being unreasonable. This is the sister acting entitled over OP's life and body just because of her own dreams of having kids with her shared DNA. To hell with OP's own decision of not going through birth because of what happened to their mother. It's only the sister's dream that matters. The sister is acting like a damn child who isn't ready to be a parent. A different commenter added, but any reputable facility will outright deny this being an option. Almost all places in the US require you to go through therapy to make sure you are 200% on board. You have to have already had kids. What she is asking will be shot down. And the places that would agree to it are places that are not caring, but about money. So your health and any child you carry are at risk. No, this isn't a small ask. If she is determined to have a baby of their DNA, you can donate eggs, and they can find a surrogate who will carry the baby, demanding you do it because they want to live the pregnancy through you. Run over you and your boundaries and needs, which a legal surrogate would put them in place. When they are doing it to save more money, it is selfish. So tell her. I will donate eggs for you to find a surrogate, but you don't get to tantrums and manipulate me into doing something with my body I don't wish to. You have just shown me how my pregnancy would be because you are not respecting me now. So why would you while I deal with carrying your child? It's time for a step back from you. Because while I feel for you, I will not be abused because your wants are not more important than my needs. Then take a step back. Because everything she is doing is wrong and she has no right. Also concerning you, BF, do you think it okay to make him watch you have someone else's kid? How about them saying he can't touch you or your belly? Can't sleep with him for whatever reason. You can love your sister, but giving in means most likely putting yourself at risk. Ending a relationship with BF, destroying the relationship with an entitled sister, mentally screwing you up. Stop letting her manipulate you and use your love for her to get her way. That is wrong, and as much as you love her, letting her destroy your life so she can have a baby the way she wants is not worth it. Now for the update. So I promised an update tomorrow, but my dad actually ended up calling me while I was hanging out and told me to come over for dinner yesterday night so we could talk. I want to start by saying thank you so much for all the comments and advice. Some of you were jerks to not only me, but my sister and boyfriend as well. I still appreciate the help. I didn't even ask about what when my dad called. I figured he had spoken to Stacy. Based on comments, I know you guys won't be happy, but I spoke with my boyfriend about where his head was if I were to go forward with it. He told me that he loved me and would support me through any and everything, but he would not continue to sit by while my sister made me feel like trash, and if I was doing this under coercion, he would not be able to support me, which I honestly completely understand. When we went over to my dad's for dinner, my sister and brother-in-law were already there. I spoke to them both when we walked in, but only my sister replied. My brother-in-law gave me the most disgusting look and greeted my boyfriend only. My dad sat us down at the table, and there was just this awkward silence and tension I could cut with a butcher knife. He said, "Somebody talk. We need to get this resolved before the game tomorrow night." My dad loves football, lol. I started off the conversation by telling her that I did some research, and atop of my initial concerns, I now had a few more and needed to know exactly what she needed from me. I first asked her what being a surrogate would look like. She just said, "Are you agreeing to it?" When I told her no, I just needed more details, she broke down crying. I asked her if she knew that a doctor would deny me from being a surrogate, given that I've never successfully carried a child to term. She said she knew that, and she would just send my brother-in-law and I to a center of excellence, where we can pretend we're a couple, and once I'm successfully inseminated, then I would request a transfer from that provider to her OB/GYN for the continuation of care. My father intervened and said that asking me to do something a doctor wouldn't sign off on was a terrible way to attempt to begin motherhood. You could tell he wasn't on board with any of it, but didn't want to pick a side. He asked her why she was so uncomfortable with the idea of a surrogate, and that's when my brother-in-law interjected and said, "Don't try to berate my wife with these stupid questions. Talk to your selfish witch of a daughter about why she can't help her sister." That immediately shifted the mood. My boyfriend started to yell at him for calling me a witch. My dad told him he could not disrespect his daughters in his home. Everything just went up in flames. My sister was crying, asking me to do her this favor, practically begging. I told her that if I could trade places with her, I would, but I was scared and just didn't want to die. I think that was the first time I had said that out loud ever. We couldn't get more solved after that. My dad asked my brother-in-law to leave because he couldn't control himself and refused to apologize. When he was walking out, my sister told him she would meet him in the car, asked me to come and talk to her on the porch, just the two of us. I went out with her, and she apologized for her husband calling me a witch, said that they were just on edge, and it's been stressful. I told her that she shouldn't apologize for him, and that we'd figure something out. She asked me to reconsider and just kept saying, "You don't get it, you don't understand." When I pressured her for more, She admitted that her in-laws made a cruel joke at one of their dinners recently about how she was on a liver. Referring to the child she lost, she said she asked him why he didn't stand up for her when they made the joke, and he said because it was true. He made some weird comments about her not being able to make up for it, and how he was so excited to see what their child would look like, and how he would never be able to look into a child and see pieces of them both. So she had the idea of me carrying the child, and he was super on board. But the way she said it was like he planted a seed, and she seems to believe it was her idea. She said she hadn't seen him that excited since the baby, and she just needed my help to get everything back to normal. I tried to explain to her that nothing would ever be normal again, and that what she was trying to do was the wrong thing. But he just started blaring the horn, rushing her to the car, and she said she'd call me later. I feel like I may lose my sister, but I now am not even willing to donate my eggs for her to have a baby with him. I took your guys' advice and looked up the egg donation process, and wow, not at all what I expected. I want her to divorce him. I am never going to help her procreate with that man. I genuinely think I'd be a surrogate for her to be a single mom before I'd ever allow her to place his child in me or take my eggs to even create a child with him. I had no clue that his family was pushing so much guilt onto her. I have literally been jumping at my phone every time it rings because I know she'll be calling soon, and I'll have to tell her that. I'm terrified I'll lose my sister, but I can't and won't do this. Probably won't update anymore, but thanks for all the help. I'll probably create my own Reddit now because I'm kind of obsessed with the site lol. Now for a few comments. One commenter said, "What a manipulative bastard he is. Your sister should divorce and stay away from her in-laws. No wonder that man is that way. He needs therapy ASAP." Another commenter expressed disbelief, saying, "Wow, can't believe her own husband called her a liver for having a miscarriage. I hope she wakes up from the brainwashing." A different commenter added, "Not just a miscarriage because of the car accident she was in. Dude's a friggin' monster." Finally, another commenter shared, "OMG, I was getting sick to my stomach reading this, so afraid they had pushed you into this. Thank God you came to the conclusion that that awful man should not be a father. His family shouldn't be around children either." Now for the post. Somehow your sister needs to realize that even if she finds a way to get him his child, she will always be treated like this by him and his family. In fact, he may escalate. I don't know if he was once a decent guy or not. Many couples who lose a child change and can't recover. Concentrate on saving your sister, not the idiot. Now for a few comments. One commenter said, "This reeks of him having a twin fetish. The way he is acting is more like a toddler who was shown candy, and right before eating it, someone snatched it up. He can't see you and your twin as two different people, and he thinks since you look alike, you should act like each other. Apart from identity fraud and its issues, and the fact that you acting like you are your sister would also lead to insurance fraud. I bet he was going to bring up just having intimacy with you at some point and get it over with so they can save money for when the baby comes. Don't block him. He will get drunk at some point and start sending you messages. Keep those for a restraining order." Another commenter asked, "Your dad was right there. Why not tell your dad about the conversation and then try to help your sister with your dad's help?" Then the original poster replied, "I did tell my dad what she said when I went back inside. He didn't seem surprised. He said that he went to dinner with her in-laws per her request, and he saw the change in how they treated her. He said that, same as me, he didn't know how bad it was. I know he did reach out to her and tell her that my brother-in-law would no longer be welcome back until he apologizes to me. He's hoping that she'll still come over tonight and we can talk to her together without his presence." This is all super new territory for us. We were under the impression that she was in a happy, loving relationship. We aren't idiots and knew the loss of their child did shake their relationship, but I could not have imagined this in my wildest dreams. Jeremiah has always been so cool. I used to see him like an annoying brother. Now I see he's emotionally hurtful and extremely manipulative. Another commenter added, I don't think the loss made this change. She's been at his mercy from day one. She's been financially dependent on him from the go. Everything he demanded he was given because he could put her out with nothing in a heartbeat. Your denial made his actions public. That's what changed. You are likely seeing how he's been treating her for the entirety of her marriage. Now for the update. I know I said I wouldn't update anymore, but so much has happened, and I can't explain the weird relief I feel typing my madness onto this website. My friend did say that I could just have this Reddit page, which relieves so much stress. Because Lord knows I wouldn't have made one if I had to do it myself. I had to watch a YouTube on how to properly use this site and what some of the things mean, because people kept commenting that I was karma farming. That's neither here nor there. On to the update. A lot of you suggested that I be more careful around my brother-in-law for fear that he would become violent. I did not listen, and I kick myself now for not doing so. I thought I knew my family well enough, and this was just a bump in the road. How extremely naive of me. My sister called me back the next morning, the day after he called me a witch. I unfortunately missed the call because I was in the shower. When I called back, no answer. It was a normal day until we got to my father's house that night for football. Kickoff had just happened when my sister walked in. She asked my dad if he could come outside and talk to her husband. My dad said no because the game was on, and he could either wait until the commercial break or he could come in and apologize like a man in front of everyone who witnessed him disrespect me. She took a breath and told him how he wasn't being completely fair. She tried to bring up a previous situation drawing likeness, and it infuriated my father. He told her how he didn't raise her to make herself small and weak for a man, and said whatever he did that made her think this is how you have a healthy relationship, he was sorry for failing her as a father. Her eyes started to water, and she just stormed out without another word. When I went out to my car after the game was over, I had 2 flat tires and a broken passenger front window. My dad put 2 donuts on the car, used his truck to tow the car into his garage, and told me to take his other vehicle, and he would get the car fixed, and I could come and get it whenever I had time, but not to worry. He asked if I wanted to stay the night. I declined. I called my sister. She didn't answer, so I texted her and said a lot, but for the sake of keeping some of it private, I said, I can't believe this is where we are. Loving a man should never call for destroying your family in the process. She responded by saying, that's the problem. My family is already destroyed and you aren't willing to help me put it together. I again tried to call her after that. No answer. On the drive home, I noticed a car following me. When I was able to get a better view, I realized it was my sister's mother-in-law car. I know this only because she has a very distinct car decal that I have literally never seen anywhere else. I freaked out and called my boyfriend asking him to meet me back at my place. When I pulled up at home into the driveway, the car pulled in behind me. Luckily, my boyfriend was turning down the street. By the time my brother-in-law got out of his mom's car and tried to walk to me, my boyfriend was running out of his car yelling at him. Jeremiah immediately started yelling, I just wanted to apologize. I just wanted to apologize. He and my boyfriend got into a small scuffle before he got into his mom's car and sped off. He did hit my boyfriend's car in the process. It didn't appear to be intentional, and his car is still drivable. After this, I obviously didn't feel too comfortable at home anymore. I packed a bag and went to my boyfriend's house and haven't really been back home since. My dad did add a camera and floodlight to the back door and driveway, but I'm honestly not too sure I want to go back, although I know I will have to at some point. Yes, I reached out to my sister. No, she did not answer or respond at all that night or the day following. I would notice that on one day a red car would be following me, the next a black one. I know you may say I was scared and just thinking people were following me, but I would notice them begin to drive to the police station, per instruction from my dad, just for them to then turn once the station was in sight. On Sunday, I went to brunch with a few friends to celebrate one's upcoming wedding and discuss bridal shower details. The waiter came to me and told me my husband was up front and it was an emergency. thinking it was my boyfriend and she was just mistaken. I went up to find my brother-in-law. I approached him in an attempt to not make a scene, speaking low and asking him to leave, or I would call my dad. He told me that everything just went too far and he just wanted to apologize. We were kind of in the doorway and it was just awkward, people funneling in saying, "Excuse me," so I suggested we step out to get out of the way. When we went outside, he apologized for calling me a witch and said he didn't feel that way. He told me I didn't understand how hard it was for him, and I cut him off there, saying that how hard it was for him didn't matter to me because his behavior was becoming too chaotic and hurtful to not only my sister, but everyone else. He told me that he understood how I could feel like that, but asked me to again reconsider. He reached for my stomach, and I instantly stepped back and told him he needed to leave, and we could set up a time to talk with my dad. But him stalking me was an issue, and we could talk later or I would call the police. He grabbed a fistful of my hair as I was walking back into the restaurant, saying, "Don't you freaking walk away from me." Honestly, I don't remember much after that. Everything just went really quickly, and a few bystanders got involved. He ended up fleeing before the cops could come. A report was filed 2 days ago. He tried to come up to my airport terminal, telling them he was my husband and there was an emergency, the same BS he pulled at the restaurant. He was arrested after refusing to leave. He was, of course, bailed out and has since taken to messaging me the most vile messages. My sister did leave after the show he put on at my job. She is currently staying with our dad but has been asking me to drop the charges, making excuses for him, and has been very adamant that he didn't hit me at the restaurant despite my literal scalp bleeding because of how hard he yanked my hair and the small scratches I have on my neck and arms from him, continuing to escalate aggressively when strangers tried to help. Some of the texts are him telling me the vile things he's going to do to me, how he'll get me pregnant and I'll be stuck with him for the rest of my life, how he knows that I'm the woman who is going to bring him a son, and if I don't make it easy for him, we'll both die before he gives up. Just really concerning. I blocked his number, so all of these are coming from random text now apps. I told the police, and they said there's no way to prove it's actually him, so until he acts on it, nothing can be done. I am literally scared all the time. My boyfriend drives me to work, and on top of the regular precautions, I take more, and I can barely sleep now. I send my sister a screenshot every time her husband messages me, and she has taken to no longer interacting. My dad has asked me to stop doing this because it's beating her down, but I told him that I can't even believe she defended him during some of this, and she needs to see the harassment that her husband is committing. I feel defeated. I don't even know if me and my sister can come back from this. I feel like I've basically taken over my boyfriend's life, and I feel terrible about it. He hasn't said anything, but his regular gym visits are cut sometimes if he has to pick me up or drop me off when I have to work or go anywhere else because I'm scared. Being gone for a day due to flights, I know, allows him to do more of his routine, but now we're basically forced to live together, which I enjoy, but I'm not sure that he does. We got into an argument the other day about the AC temperature. I feel like my life is slowly devolving into madness and I can't breathe. Now for a few important comments. One commenter suggested unblocking him and silencing his number so I don't get notifications. That way, the police would know he's the one sending messages if he uses his number again. They also mentioned that even if my sister and I find our way back to each other, the relationship will still be different. They advised reminding my father that my brother-in-law threatened to rap me, and my sister is still with him, a potential rapper. I don't really know where to start, but currently my brother-in-law is stalking me. I don't want to go down the rabbit hole of why, but he wants me to have his baby. Unfortunately, the story just gets more chaotic. I had his number blocked, but at the advice of others, I unblocked him due to the police stating that the messages coming in from unknown numbers couldn't be traced to him. He has sent me a few messages from his actual number saying that we need to talk and get to an agreement. I, of course, have not engaged. The vile messages from strange numbers have continued. I cannot confirm, but I always feel somebody following me. Going to get my coffee from Dunkin', I feel like the blue car is following me. I've gotten to the point where I actually have taken a leave from work. I have completely abandoned my apartment and moved in with my now fiancé. I ran into him a few days ago grocery shopping. He approached me from behind and rubbed a hand on my back. When I jumped and screamed, attempting to draw attention, he pretended to be confused, throwing his hands up. "I'm sorry, I'll leave you alone, I apologize." He seemed so genuine that the witnesses basically accepted his apology on my behalf and sent him on his way. I literally couldn't even talk, barely breathe to even form words outside of "someone help." I felt so helpless. The next day, my apartment was broken into and completely destroyed. The next day, I got a message from a strange number that read, "It'll only get worse. I am terrified." My sister is currently living with my dad, and she is positive that it's not her husband. She said things went too far, and he's been in contact with her about getting a clear head and being out of the state because he feels as if he's been unhinged and needs to recant her. I don't even know how to convince her that he's lying. The police seem to refuse to help because he hasn't done anything wrong. I feel like I have to actually die or him hurt me in a serious way for anything to get done. Please help me. I am currently in the US, so please, if you know of any laws, anything that can help or urge the police to become more helpful, I would appreciate it. I cannot sleep. I'm coming to the point of simply not wanting to leave my apartment. Please help me. Now for a few important comments. One commenter suggested getting a lawyer and obtaining a protective order. I responded that I have a lawyer and have submitted all documentation I have available. Cameras around the house, and I have a dash cam that records even when I'm out of the car. The lawyer is telling me to continue to gather evidence because the evidence that we have won't be enough to effectively show a court that he is harassing me. It's like they want me to set myself up and prove that I'm in danger. I don't know what I can do besides put myself out as bait. My boyfriend realized I was looking into apartments and asked me why. I told him that I felt like he wanted his space back to himself, and he proposed. I'm literally engaged. Now I feel a lot better about taking over his apartment. I posted in the advice section explaining that my brother-in-law was escalating. He approached me in a grocery store, and I unfortunately did not do well with standing up for myself there. Not my best moment. He broke into my home, did some damage in my bedroom, and broke a few things in my kitchen he knows I love, like mugs and an espresso machine. I wasn't there, and cameras were installed after. I took a leave of absence from work and basically stayed holed up in my fiancé's apartment. My sister had been ignoring my texts and not engaging with me until I got a random call. When I answered, she was sobbing. I asked her what was wrong, thinking something happened to our dad. She explained that she had been following her husband and knew he was following me. She said she was telling me because she went to the police and they explained they were sending someone out to talk to me. We sat on the phone for 5 hours. She explained that after the hair pulling incident, her light bulb went off and she went into PI mode. She got to the point where she was concerned for my safety, which is why she went to the police. She apologized for putting so much pressure on me and said that while she would like to blame it on her husband, a tiny piece of her was shocked. I said no. She explained that the DNA aspect doesn't matter to her. It was my brother-in-law who insisted on that, and she just wanted her family to be whole. She will be staying at my home with me temporarily until the divorce is final and the dust has settled. I'm sure he won't make the divorce easy, but they do have a prenup, so it shouldn't be too difficult. What do I know? I'm not married yet. Sorry, I'm literally so excited. Sidebar. I found out after my father slipped and shared that my sister actually had proof that her husband burglarized my home. She apparently held on to the information because she needed to decide the right thing to do. He said that when she told him, he told her she didn't have a choice and made her go immediately. She apparently didn't put up much of a fight. My dad said he feels like she just needed someone to actually say it to her, for her to get it. But I'm not 100% sure how I feel about this. I am happy that she made the right decision in the end. The police came to my fiance's apartment the next day. They took my statement and explained to me that they wanted to have an agent patrol me for a day in an unmarked car, and if he followed me, he would be arrested. They didn't inform me of what car was following me, but did say that it would be happening immediately, so if I felt I was being followed, not to panic, basically. He was caught within 2 hours of me leaving my fiance's apartment. We went on a date, and as we pulled into the third location, he was pulled over and arrested. I drank more margaritas than I should have that night at the restaurant. The detective told me I would be getting a call from the DA's office, which I assume will be tomorrow. Honestly, based on how this has all gone, I doubt they'll hold him accountable much. But I am hoping that with them having his phone, there is physical proof that he was sending me the texts, which will add to his punishment. I appreciate everyone who told me to get a gun. I am actually terrified of guns. A kid from my high school was playing with a gun and ended the life of himself mistakenly. It wasn't in school or anything crazy like that. It was at his home, but when we heard about it, it reinforced my fear of guns. No guns for me, but I did buy bear spray and a knife. I have my first flight back at work this week, and I'm so excited to be back to my regularly scheduled program. Today's football games were amazing, and I was able to watch them with my sister, my dad, and my fiance. I hope I don't have another reason to update this ever. Thank you all so much. Am I the idiot for telling my pregnant sister to leave after her affair with a married man? Exploded our lives? My sister, 32, moved in with me because she got pregnant 5 months ago from what she claimed was a one-night stand. I love my sister, so of course I took her in. My husband is overseas for 6 more months, so it was nice to have her around because I care about her very much. On Monday, I came home and saw my sister and a strange woman in a screaming match on my doorstep. I obviously didn't know what was happening, but I saw the woman poking my pregnant sister's shoulder, so I intervened. I sent my sister inside, and she begged me to send the woman away. I didn't understand what was going on, but I wanted the altercation to end for everyone's sake, so I told the woman as much. Then she started screaming, asking me if I was also sleeping with her husband. I was like, and then she basically revealed that my sister had been having an affair with her husband for 5 years. 5 years. She had everything printed out, chats, photos, emails, receipts. It was disturbing to see, and I didn't want to go through it all. But a few things were established. 1, my sister knew about his wife. She knew she was the mistress and liked it. 2, this woman was a stay-at-home mom to their 4 kids, one of whom has a severe disability from a car accident. 3, her husband knew about my sister's pregnancy and even took her on a baby moon to celebrate it. 4, the affair had been going on the entire time, with my sister believing he would eventually leave his wife for her. 5, my sister had fully embraced the role of being the other woman and was emotionally invested in their relationship, despite his repeated lies about leaving his wife. I told the woman I was very sorry and that I obviously didn't know, but I asked her to leave because this wasn't going anywhere, and I didn't want the neighbors to call the police. She was furious, but gave me her number on a post-it, begging me not to let her husband stay at my house. I assured her that no man was stepping foot in my home. My sister was begging me not to believe the woman, calling her a vindictive ex-wife. I told her, all right then, let's look up the marriage online. Let's see if a motion for dissolution of marriage was ever submitted. We fought hard. My sister kept saying I would never understand and that they loved each other, but he just couldn't leave his wife, blah, blah, blah. I called her dumb and naive. The next day, I told her she could stay here because I didn't want her to become a financial burden on that woman in any way. But I also told her that right now, I didn't want to engage with her. My sister asked me if I still loved her, and I told her honestly, right now, I can't say I do. I will always help my nephew and not endanger you, but I can't like you because you've shown me you're not a trustworthy person. I told her I didn't trust her not to try anything with my husband, and I didn't trust her with anything at all, so I made her sign a tenants agreement. She's been begging me to forgive her, and I told her there's nothing to forgive. I just don't know who she is anymore. Now for some comments. One commenter said, NTA, You need to make sure she is out of your home before your husband comes home because you are right, you cannot trust her. I replied, I wouldn't worry. I trust my husband 100%. Not my sister anymore, though. I already told him and asked if she ever did something, and he said no. Another commenter said, NTA, your sister's behavior was vile and inexcusable. That poor woman and her children, her husband is an absolute POS. I responded, I said the affair started 5 years ago, right? Now guess when she and the kid got into an accident that left the kid disabled. When asked if my sister knew, I said, she met the flicking kids, took them to the zoo with the bastard. Another commenter said, wow, that is severely ballsy. I replied, she wanted them to get to know her so she could hop right into the mom role as soon as he divorced his wife. Yeah, right. When asked about our parents, I said, they died 7 years ago. A commenter suggested, you should ask for pics so you know what this guy looks like, and arrange to get outdoor cameras at the least so your sis isn't sneaking him around when you're at work. It should be grounds for eviction if she does allow him around. I replied, I saw him in the pictures his wife showed me. Also, I work from home at M, so no dice. When asked why I let her live with me, I explained, one of my reasons is that I don't want her to get an apartment on his dime when that money should go to his kids. Also, my nephew doesn't deserve to be born homeless. Another commenter asked, just curious, what does your husband say about this situation? I said, he said that it is very disappointing she turned out to be like that and said that it is difficult to trust her as she proved to be such a good liar. He is the one who helped me with the tenancy agreement and all. A downvoted commenter suggested, yeah, that whole thing might just be so that she has tenant rights so that she can try to ruin your life. I responded, listen, you don't know which country I am from. We got legal help and did this together with someone that actually has a clue. We saved our asses like this. If not, that would be akin to squatters' rights in the US. When someone asked, OP, what are you going to do once the baby is here? Assuming the dad wants to be in the kid's life at least somewhat, I think it's unreasonable to ban him from the house. I replied, if she wants him there, she can get her very own apartment. If she still wants to stay and save up for the baby, she has to adhere to my house rules. She is free to go and see him outside. When asked how the wife got my address, I said, she got the address from his phone. Now for the update. First, I'd like to clarify a few things. I am not going to tell my sister to get rid of the baby. That's not my place, and I would never suggest such a thing. Also, I am not going to install tracking software on her phone or demand access to all her devices. That's invasive and wrong. I've been thinking a lot, and while I can't say that I don't love my sister, it's very hard to feel that love right now. I don't know who she is anymore. It's not just that she lied to me, it's what she did and how convinced she is that she was justified because they were in love. She's brought chaos into my home that I opened up to her. I'm deeply disappointed in her, and I just don't like her at the moment. I'm letting her stay with me because I don't want her to become dependent on him. I don't think he's a good man either, and as a social worker, I've seen these scenarios too many times. My sister is already deluded. I don't need to open the door to a dependency that's also financial. I haven't been punishing my sister, but I've been treating her like a roommate. This is driving her crazy. She's begging me to go back to how things were before, but I can't. I told her that I need time and that things can't just return to normal overnight. She tried to explain how it all happened. She admitted that she always knew he was married, but believed she could tell how unhappy he was and felt he deserved to be happy. They met at a bar a few weeks after his son's accident. He told her that his wife hadn't touched him since it happened and that he was about to explode. I asked her why she would involve herself with a married man, knowing the hurt it would cause. She said she wanted to be a wife and a good mom, and that included his kids. She had hoped he would divorce his wife so they could all move on and finally be happy together. I just stared at her, unable to comprehend how she could rationalize her actions. A few days later, he appeared at our house, claiming he had left his wife and wanted to be with my sister. I told him to leave immediately or I would call the police. My sister was furious with me. accusing me of ruining her chance at happiness. I made it clear to her, if he comes over again, I will evict her. She's free to date anyone she wants, but not under my roof. I also told her that if she plans to have him around after the baby is born, she'll need to find her own place. Word has gotten around our community about the affair. While we were grocery shopping, a woman even spat on my sister. Many of her friends have cut ties with her, calling her a homewrecker. Some are married themselves and don't want her near their husbands. I haven't said, "I told you so," even once. We unexpectedly ran into his wife at a local cafe. My sister wanted to apologize and suggested that maybe they could all have a good relationship for the sake of the kids. The wife laughed coldly and said, "You made your choices, now live with them. Don't expect me to make this easier for you." My sister is devastated and has been lying in bed ever since. I'm taking care of her physical needs, making sure she eats, stays hydrated, and attends her prenatal appointments. But I can't bring myself to comfort her emotionally. I just don't have it in me right now. Now for a few important comments. One commenter asked if my sister is mentally sound, suggesting she seems to be living in a fantasy world. I replied, I don't think she is having a psychotic break. I think she is in too far, and now that she has destroyed her life, she is trying to make it work. Another commenter said, to get in this far, she can't be a good person, and neither can he. They're both so insanely selfish that they put getting laid over destroying his kid's family and home. I feel horribly for that child. Its parents are trash. I agreed, saying, that has also been my thoughts. A commenter asked about my sister's living situation and financial dependency. I explained, yes, she has a job. She moved in with me to save up for her baby. She is on maternity leave. Her job is not super high paying. I am not responding to the rest of the comment as it seems more aggressive than helpful. When someone alleged I was only blaming my sister and not the affair partner, I clarified, I blame him. He is a horrible man with no morals. He couldn't even wait for his son to be out of the hospital to start an affair because his ballpark wasn't getting scratched by his wife, who was also in the accident. I hate him. I hate him so badly that I resent that he exists, but he is not in my life. I didn't know him. He has no cards in my game. I am so mad at my sister for not only screwing up her life, but also bringing chaos into mine after I opened my home to her. I am mad she lied to me for 5 years. But most of all, I am disgusted with her horrible, selfish actions. She wasn't lured into this. She knew from the beginning that she was a mistress. She knew what she was doing. She knew it was wrong, and yet she kept doing it and lying through her teeth. I don't know who she is. Now for the 20-day update. My sister just won't stop talking about him. Every day, it's the same story. Their perfect future together, the apartment they're moving into, how everything will be great once his divorce is done. She's completely lost in this delusion, acting like none of the lies and betrayal matter. I can't stand it. She made him write me letters. Yes, actual letters. As if that's going to magically make me approve of him, she leaves them around the house, thinking that if I just read them, I'll suddenly understand how sorry he is and how much he loves her. I haven't responded to a single one. It's ridiculous. I told her over and over that I don't want anything to do with him, but she keeps pushing, as if she can wear me down. It's beyond frustrating. Then came the talk of moving in together. She sat me down and asked for my blessing, telling me how important it was to her that I support their relationship. She actually wanted me to meet him, to give him a chance. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. That's when I drew the line. I told her flat out, if she moves in with him, I'm done. I told her I would go low contact, that I wouldn't be part of their life, and that she's on her own if she goes through with this. If she wanted my support, she had to leave him, full stop. For a moment, I thought she was finally getting it. She showed me screenshots from his ex-wife. The ex had pretended she wanted him back, and this guy fell for it immediately. He told her how much he missed her, how my sister was a mistake, how he wanted to fix things with his family. My sister was crushed. She came to me with the screenshots, crying, and I thought, for a couple of days, that maybe, just maybe, she would finally see him for who he really is. I was hopeful. But then, as usual, he wormed his way back in. He told her he only said those things because he was afraid his ex would take the kids away. And of course, she bought it. Now she's actively moving in with him, packing up her things and making all these plans like nothing happened. The screenshots? Forgotten. The lies? Excused. She's determined to be with him no matter what, and I am done. I told her I'm not helping her anymore. No more driving her to appointments, no more checking on her. Nothing. I'm not going to pretend everything's okay while she's diving headfirst into this disaster. Now, I barely talk to her. If she asks where the tea is, I'll tell her. If she wants to know if there's milk left, I'll answer. But that's it. I'm emotionally cut off, and I told her straight, I'll be here if things fall apart, if she's in danger, but I am not going to be a part of this train wreck. She's on her own now. The community backlash hasn't slowed down either. Everywhere we go, people are whispering, staring, and judging. They're not just looking at her, they're looking at me too. People know she's living with me, and I've started hearing comments at work about why I haven't completely cut her off. It's affecting my life now, and I just can't carry her mistakes anymore. Her friends, all gone. The ones who were married have cut ties completely. She's isolated herself, but instead of waking up, she's clinging harder to him, holding on to this fantasy that everything will work out. But I'm done caring. She's made her choice, and now she has to live with the fallout. This is the final update because I'm finished. I'm done trying, done caring, done dealing with the mess she's made. She can have her life with him, but I'm not going to be part of it. Now for a few comments. Commenter, not the idiot. Let her be. Kick her out sooner. This started to affect your life more than her. Then OP replied, she is leaving by the 23rd latest. Contract's been terminated. She is out by the 23rd. Another commenter said, she'll lose him as she got him. You'll hear from her in the future when he cheats on her. OP responded, I give it 3 months. Another commenter shared, I don't blame you for being over this whole mess. As my mom would say, I won't be shitting out what you eat. Meaning, the consequences of your sister's actions are for her and her alone to deal with. You've been a good sister and done all you can to make her see the error of her ways. Now you just have to let the chips fall where they may. I'm nosy. Can you come back and tell us her sob story when she comes crawling back? OP replied, I like that idiom. I don't know, maybe if I need to vent, but I hope that this is the last of my involvement. Then another commenter said, yeah, last update I predicted things wouldn't change and she would just start affecting you too. And now even indirectly she's affecting you socially. So I know she's not going to leave without you kicking her out. Hopefully you see that sooner than later. Good luck. OP responded, I think she is thrilled about leaving to finally be with him, lol. Another commenter shared, I knew a woman like OP's sister. The man never left his wife. He never got a place with the woman I knew. She's alone. He's still with his wife. OP replied, I don't think his wife is taking him back. Another commenter said, not the idiot, your sister is reaching rock bottom. It's now up to her to get out or go further down. It's pathetic she can't face reality, maybe because she intentionally lost everything and everyone because of her selfish choices. For your sake, it's best to maintain low to no contact. OP shared, it's sad for my nephew, but he has 2 parents now. I am concentrated on my life now. Finally, a commenter said, when it happens, come back and tell us, please. I want to see how things will fall apart. Don't delete your account. Keep just for this, please. OP concluded, I don't think I will. People are seriously unkind. I just got 2 death threats to my DMs, one for being a shifty sister and the other for housing a homewrecker. Am I the idiot for calling out my mother for stealing my birthday gift and labeling me selfish for years? I was visiting my mom this weekend, and I turned a video on while we crafted Smosh's new Reddit video. One of the first videos they cover is on the story of a mother losing her daughter's Louis Vuitton bag. We listened to it, and I said it sounded similar to the phone incident when I was younger. My mom got really defensive, said that I was selfish as a teenager, and I am acting selfish now. We argued for a bit, and she said, I wonder what Reddit would think of our story. So I decided to find out. For my 15th birthday, my grandpa sent me a new smartphone in the mail. I was incredibly excited about it, and my mom was really upset. She said that it was inappropriate for me to have a more upgraded phone than she did. He sent me the newer version of the phone she had, and that there was no way she was going to let me have the phone. So instead of transferring my SIM card to my new phone, she went and transferred hers to the new phone and mine to her phone. Her argument was that I still had a newer phone than my previous one, so I should be grateful. But given the new smartphone had been a gift, I was really upset and called my grandpa, her dad, to complain. He then called her and chewed her out for it, which made her yell at me for involving him. She said again, there was no reason for me to have such an upgraded phone when I only used it to talk to my friends, and she used her phone for work. Our argument went on for over a week before I just dropped it, but I was bitter for a long time. She continued to bring up how unbelievably selfish I had acted and that she was disappointed to have raised such a selfish daughter. Every once in a while, especially at family gatherings, this story will be brought up by someone and the argument starts all over. My brother, 17 at the time, and my dad stayed neutral on it, and my grandpa was pissed but lived in another country and couldn't do much but call my mom like he did. That's the story. My mom called me selfish again when I brought it up and said that my continued bitterness towards this event just goes to show how ungrateful and entitled that I am, no matter how many times I tell her that what she did was pretty messed up. So, who is the AH? Edit. The intention was always to show the verdict of this post to my mom, since it was her idea to see what Reddit would think. I texted her and asked her if there was anything she'd like to add before I forwarded the post to her, and just got this back. As I have said, it was not appropriate for a girl of your age to have a more capable smartphone if you weren't going to use it for anything other than texting your friends. Your grandpa did not ask me before sending the phone to you. I told you that you could not have the phone, and you continued to ask for it, so I gave you my old one as compromise, which was a newer and nicer phone than the one you had, and you still continued to ask for the newer one even after I said no. I maintain that your behavior was that of a selfish teenager, and I think any moms on Reddit will agree with me. Hopefully your post puts an end to this argument. I will add that she said this weekend, this was before Instagram, what would you have used the phone for? The new phone in question was a Samsung Galaxy 2. My mom had the Samsung Galaxy 1, and I had a Nokia slider phone before my grandpa sent me the new one. Edit 2. I am going to take screenshots of this post and send them to my mom after work. We'll try to update when I can. I don't expect she'll be happy, but I agree with her that hopefully we can stop bringing this up. Now for a few important comments. One commenter said, "Your mom told you to take this to Reddit? She needs to browse more. People here generally don't like bullies." I responded, "She likes it when I put on the Reddit videos when we hang out, but has otherwise never explored Reddit. But even in that video, the Smosh people absolutely called that mother the AH, and my mom was like, well, our thing is completely different." Another commenter asked, "So gift-stealing mother thinks you are selfish? Okay, did she do this with other gifts? Like take money from a gift for you?" I replied, "This is the only time in my life she has ever done something this extreme, which is why I think it gets brought up to this day, because it was such a wild situation for us and sticks out." When asked about getting the phone at the time, I said, "Valid concern, but the phone was genuinely a complete surprise from my grandpa. I had not asked for a new phone from my parents or my grandparents." Another commenter added, "You are not the idiot, but your mom certainly is. It takes a hell of a lot of nerve to steal your child's gift because you want it and then claim that the child is selfish. Your mother's take is strictly self-serving, so she doesn't have to admit that she's wrong for stealing from her own child." Now for the update. It is unfortunately not much of an update. I sent my mom about a dozen screenshots from the then 100 or so comments on the post right when I got off work. She didn't acknowledge or respond to them for a while, kept trying to talk about other things, and I had to keep pressing her to read the comments. I did most of the heavy lifting. She kept trying to change the subject, and I had to keep redirecting. I tried to call her a few times after she said she read the comments, and she would not answer, even though I think talking over text made this infinitely more frustrating. I don't feel like we came to any conclusion other than to never bring it up again. The final screenshot is from my brother Jay. Thanks for everyone for giving me better language to talk about this situation and sharing similar experiences. I think it is just something my family has never been able to get over, as stupid as it is. My grandpa passed 3 years ago, so unfortunately we cannot get his opinion. Transcripts of the text messages between me and my mom. Yes, I read the comments you sent me. Obviously, it isn't great to see random Reddit people talking about me on the internet. I know. Like, I'm not even upset about the actual phone anymore. I feel like you keep mentioning the phone specifically. It's now more that after all these years, you won't acknowledge even a little that what you did was hurtful to me as a teenager, and that people like Jay keep bringing it up because it was hurtful. I'm really sick of being called selfish for years because of this one thing, and you keep bringing it up, seemingly just to tell people you think I'm selfish. Sorry to say, but I think most of the family agree with the Reddit comments. Yes, okay. I do understand it's not about the phone, Viv, but when a mother says no, she expects that to be the final word. When you have kids, you will understand. From my point of view, everyone is questioning my parental decisions. It does not feel good being called an a-hole for saying no to my kid. Why do cousins need to have an opinion about what happened, let alone strangers? Maybe selfish was the wrong word to use for your behavior. That's fine. Me, I'm not even sure what to say to that. Me, you say you understand it's not actually about the phone, but do you understand that how you went about this was hurtful and that you've continued to be hurtful about it for years? Now, for the post. There are literally comments talking about gaslighting me about this. Did you show Dad? Yes. And? Dad says we need to both get over it. I would like to, but for some reason it keeps being brought up. I would also love to get over it, but you are one of the ones who keep bringing it up. Again, it feels like you keep retelling the story just to tell a story about me being selfish and for no other reason. Jay brings it up too. Jay brings it up to emphasize your behavior sometimes, IDK. I think the rest of the family want it to be a funny story, and it isn't for us. I am happy to never bring it up again. I'm sick of talking about it. But that means you can't bring it up again either. If you do, I'll show people the Reddit post, lol. That's fine. Going to bed now. Love you. Night. Please call me tomorrow. Now for a conversation between OP and her brother, Jay. FS, is PhoneGate finally over? Lol, maybe she said you have to stop talking about it. Gaff. Now for a few important comments. One commenter said, I commented on your original post, but in my mind I had predicted that this was going to be a reaction. This is such a frustrating response, but just accept it and roll with it. Some people will just never admit that they are wrong. That takes a lot of grace. And I'm sorry, a person who can't help but berate her own daughter is incapable of having such grace. So why keep that expectation? I mean, if the verdict would have been that you indeed were the jerk, she would have rubbed it in your face. But since she has been named the jerk, she wants to move on with life and forgive and forget. This was behavior that I think we all predicted. Maybe she should have thought twice before suggesting you put the story on Reddit, lol. Can't complain about strangers commenting on your bad parenting when it was your idea to open it up to discussion in the first place. You have just given a second example of her hypocrisy. Sorry if that's hurtful. IK, she's your mother. But as an internet stranger who saw your story that was approved by your mother to be posted, and is hence proof that none of the details are fabricated or untrue, that story truly did not paint a respectable picture of your mother in my head. All I see is a selfish, manipulative parent who continues to be so in the screenshots you have shared. Anyway, what can you do? Take care, and hopefully y'all will be okay. Another commenter added, your mom is just being so frustrating and upsetting in TF. She can avoid and deny to face the reality all she wants, but at least next time if she brings it up again, you can just show the post to shut her mouth. Even reading this already makes me so furious. I guess it's BC. I also have a mom who's super entitled. I'm sorry you're going through this, but I hope she'll suffuse from now on.